thank you. Sherry has done an amazing job here. Like, I think this is going to be a hell of an asset to Cleveland and Cleveland photographers and stuff. I think it's really, really cool. You know, Zygot Press is right around the corner, and they're doing amazing stuff. Like, I haven't been back here. I'm from the area. I'm from Youngstown originally. You know, and grew up and stuff. And the Cleveland Museum was kind of where I learned about art and everything. And so I'm really, really happy to be back here. I came back up for the summer to do the commission for Transformer Station, which opens February 1st and 2nd. It is an amazing space. The work over there is really going to be incredible. So you should all try to make that. Fred and Laura Goodwell have done they're doing some amazing stuff here. And it's just so neat to see like the energy and enthusiasm that's happening in Cleveland. Like, I want to come back and get me out of Texas, please. Because it's hot down there, man. I'm going to talk about a couple different bodies of work today, and I promised Tom I wouldn't keep it more than 3 hours, so just relax, take it easy. And, you know, I always ask myself, with my photography, like, where am I? You know, it's always the question I'm asking myself with my work. I mean, I don't determine that, but that's sort of like when I decided to go back to grad school, it was like, well, what's my work about? And I just thought, well, all right, let me look at it and see. And it turned out that was the question. I'm always interested in like landscape, how landscape informs us, how we're informed by landscape, by where we are and where we live. You know, the fact that I'm from Youngstown, Ohio, in the Mahoning Valley, surrounded by hills and mountains. You know, there's a sense of security in that landscape for me. You know, the fact that the Mahoning River was red for so many years and orange and never froze and stuff, I mean, that feels like home to me. You know, and so coming back here photographing the bridges or whatever, I'm like, man, I'm right back where I belong. I want to tell you about 4 experiences. And I don't know what they have to do with anything, but I want to tell you about them, and I'm doing the talk, so tough. I used to teach at Columbia, Missouri, and one day I was driving home from work, and I lived in a little town east of where I worked, and it was late in the afternoon, and the sun was setting behind me and stuff, and I stopped at the stoplight, and I had a bad day. Like, the students weren't paying attention. You know, it was just one of those days. Committee meetings and all that kind of stuff, and it was like, oh man, what am I doing? I hate my life. And I stopped at the stoplight, and right in front of me is this green truck, this old Ford truck with faded paint on it, and it was piled high with these white appliances. It was tied up with that yellow rope. Like, I remember this 10 years later. And the light was hitting it, and it was so beautiful. But it totally transformed my day. You know, I saw that thing, and I was like, oh my God, the world is an amazing place. Right? And to let that petty, like, faculty meeting or whatever bother me is crazy. Like, look how beautiful that thing is. You know, and the fact that that thing was an old truck piled up with appliances made it even all the more amazing to me. Years ago, when I was still living in Ohio, and I was down by Canton, and I was coming up through Akron, and there was a hitchhiker on the side of the road, so I stopped and picked him up. And I picked up this hitchhiker, and he had to get in the back seat because I had a bunch of stuff, probably cameras, piled up in the front seat next to me. And he gets in the back, and he starts talking. And he says to me, he says, you know, he says, as we travel down this road, he says, sometimes I think the hills are gods. And as you pass them, they disappear. Right? Now, I thought the guy was crazy, and I wanted to pull off right away and let him out of my car. So I'm like, oh my God, well, I got a crazy man with me. You know, but the more I thought about that, I thought, wow, right on. You know, like how we define our own world, how we define everybody who went out for a walk and took pictures would all come out with different pictures. You know, so that in fact we do create our own environment. We do create those hills, right? And the hills are gods, but guess what? We're also gods. We're also the people that create that. And how cool is that? And part of part of what I do, like trying to figure out where I am. So I've got a body of work which I took out of this presentation, but I was photographing where I work. I call it academic landscapes. And so I was photographing sort of just the hallways and the buildings and the rooms and stuff. And at first I was photographing them to talk about how terrible it looked, like this sort of industrial kind of academic space. It's like, geez, can't we do better than this? We're a school of higher education. This is the pinnacle, right? And yet look how banal and kind of ugly it looked. But the more I photographed, the more beautiful it became to me. To where I was getting to a point where I would just watch the light move across the wall, and I would just be like, oh my God, this is so incredibly beautiful. You know, and it got weird because I was walking around like, oh my God, look at this, right? But I started seeing that way. You know, and I thought, man, if I could get people to see that with my photography, to see how absolutely amazing the most mundane thing is, right? That they'd be like, oh my God, that is amazing to me. Like, that would be pretty cool. You know, because I'm always trying to, like, figure out, like, I've been doing photography for 40 years, and I'm always trying to figure out, like, what the hell am I doing? Like, what's the point of this? You know, like, all my money, all my time goes to taking pictures, and it's like, wow, what is the point of this? You know? But I think the point of it for me is that truck, you know, and that wall is so incredibly beautiful because I can see that now. And I haven't been able to. And to be able to actually see something in a way that you've never been able to, it's kind of like with the Hubble telescope. Like we've never been able to see that, and all of a sudden we can. And man, how cool is that? A couple years ago when I was traveling around, I went to South Dakota. And South Dakota is absolutely amazing. I love it up there. And it's really foreign to where I'm from, right? The hills and valleys of eastern Ohio and western PA is a lot different to the flat land of South Dakota. And I'm out there driving around one day, and I get out of my car, and I stand there, and the horizon is really far away. Right? Like it's way the hell out there on every direction. And I am the tallest thing in the landscape. You know? And I'm standing there like that. I hate that guy. You know, like, oh, I'm king of the world. But I swear I felt like that. Like I'm standing there and I could see the curve of the earth. And I felt that I was on a planet hurtling through space. And I was just holding on by the gravity that was holding me down on the soles of my feet. I was like, man, that is incredible. You know? And if you can walk around and you can recapture that sort of feeling or experience in a day, you know, when you're having the usual day you have, you're stuck in traffic or your boss is mad at you or whatever, and you go, man, I am hanging on here by the soles of my feet. And we are hurtling through this vast universe that is incomprehensible. That's pretty cool, I think. So that has nothing to do with any of this, but let me talk about this guy now. Several years ago, I was photographing, and when I moved to Chicago, I lived in Chicago for a number of years, and I was in graduate school there at Columbia College, and I was photographing at Wolf Lake. Wolf Lake is this man-made lake on the Indiana-Illinois line. And I kept going back and photographing all the time, and then, you know, like the faculty would be like, look, go somewhere else, photograph something else, do something else, we're sick of looking at Wolf Lake. You know, I was doing traditional photographs, 4x5, whatever, and trying to aestheticize it, right? That's what we try to do with cameras, like, I'm going to try to take this picture and make this thing beautiful. And one day I'm walking along the railroad tracks there, and it reminded me of when I was a kid. I used to walk along the tracks in Youngstown, Ohio, and I'd pick up pig iron. Right? And I said, man, that's a really important clue about the place. Right? There's pig iron on these tracks. In 1,000 years, somebody's going to walk along these tracks in Youngstown, Ohio, pick this up and go, oh, they must have made steel here because that's what they do. Well, at Wolf Lake, they had corn. They had hard corn because they made corn syrup there. And I thought, man, that's an important clue about this place. How do I include that with my photograph? Right? As soon as I started thinking about that, I thought, well, I could hold my hand up, and here's the piece of corn, and here's the landscape, and then I got my hand in it, and I have this, got a hairy arm, I should work out more. You know, all these other things start to come into place. And I thought, well, just include it. Right? Like, just include it with the photograph. Make the photograph, let the photograph be the background. Like, it doesn't have to have everything. Right? And let that frame, the traditional frame, like back there or whatever, let that be a container of information, because that's what that is. Right? But if you're going to start to include three-dimensional objects like that, that frame can become a box and can start to really physically hold stuff. So once I got that, man, I was off and running. You know, it's like, how many different kinds of boxes can I make? Right? I can make a billion different kinds of boxes. Here's a box here. Remember, if we think about photographs as like containers of information, oh, look, here's a picture of Grandma. You know, oh, look, here's what the mills looked like in the 1920s, or the bridges looked like in the 20s, or whatever. So containers of information, right? And we hold these memories in our heads, and we kind of like carry them with us, right? So I thought I'd make a little box with wheels, and I carry all this information around with me all the time. I should just stay over here, because that walking is going to change the exercise. Any of you guys, if like you're in school or anything, do not be afraid of the people who came before you. I was like totally enamored with Joseph Cornell. Right? Like, I love that man's work. And I was doing this work, and people would be like, oh, Joseph Cornell. I'd be like, no, Vaughn Wascovich. And they'd be like, no, Joseph Cornell. And I'd be like, damn it. How do I get around that giant elephant in the room? Right? So what I tried to do is I tried to make Cornells. I'm like, son of a bitch, if that guy can sell a box for $1 million, I'm going to make them. I mean, wouldn't that make sense? So I got a book with Cornell. I had a book, but I measured everything. I tried to make Joseph Cornells. I'm like, all right. And what I realized from that exercise, I couldn't come close. I couldn't come close to Cornell. He was doing something completely differently, and it totally freed me up, and it just allowed me to get on with my own work. I like little books, so I made little book-size pieces. I was talking to somebody, pinhole camera. That's the pinhole camera back there, and that's how all these things are made. And one of the characteristics of a pinhole camera is that hole is incredibly small. That aperture is incredibly small. So the small aperture is going to give you a lot of depth of field. And depth of field is this. If I'm here and I'm the camera and I'm focused on this, a lot of depth of field is going to make these guys in focus. Very shallow depth of field is only going to allow these cashews to stay in focus. Right? So that's what a pinhole camera does. Extreme depth of focus. If I have this right here and the camera's right here, this will be in focus and that will be in focus. The opposite of that is a giant aperture. Right? Which is what I was doing with these things. So I was making my own lens. I just get magnifying glasses and don't use a lens at all. I just use the magnifying glass to take pictures. And the apertures were like this big. So I had this really, really shallow, actually that's one of the lenses I used. I was having an argument with one of my photo professors, Bob Thal, who talks about like the truth of the photograph. Like, look, if I take a picture of you guys, it's true, you're here. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything. Because that truth is like my iPhone picture with that lens at this particular second, it doesn't make any. So we were talking about photographic truth, and I'm like, well, there's the camera truth. And so I'd make these boxes, and here's the lens that I used to take the picture, and I put it back into the piece, so you see the landscape through the same lens that I took the picture with. And then I collect stuff from the site. Yeah. I'll tell you a story. So I had a show in New York one time, several years ago, and I had this one piece, and it's in a little box, and right here are little snails. And I had no idea, like, how snails live. I mean, I don't. Like, you see them in the water and they're walking around, and you think, well, okay, do they need air to breathe? I mean, I don't know. Do snails have noses? I don't know. So I just put them in a test tube, you know, closed it up, and took it off to my show, and I thought, cool, man, these snails can be crawling around. And I love the non-archival stuff, right? Like the fact that stuff changes. You know, like photographers were always like, oh, it's archival, it's never going to change. What? That's crazy, Doc. In my opinion. So I like the fact that these things would move around and stuff. Well, I get to the show, I open this box up, and it's brown. They died. So snails can't live in an enclosed test tube. So I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? You know, I got to clean this thing up because it just looks like brown milkshake. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, empty it out, and fill it with water. And I was kind of hesitant because it's like, no, it's not really Wolf Lake water, and if some biologist tests this 500 years from now, they're gonna know I cheated, and it's not really ethical, but I did it anyway. So I go into the bathroom, I open up the test tube, and let me tell you something. If there are any would-be terrorists in the room, right, and you get mad at your boyfriend or husband or whatever, and you want to like really get back at him, you get some snails, you put them in a test tube, you let them die, you take that water and you empty it out into their car. They will have to burn the car because it smells so incredibly bad. You cannot even imagine. So there I am in the gallery, in the bathroom with this smell that is unbelievable. It almost knocks me out. And of course, the worst part is I have to walk out of that bathroom. Right? And it's like, I'm like, God, there's somebody in there dying. I don't know what is going on. But, yeah, I will never forget that. I was raised Catholic. So Catholics are into candles, saying prayers. So I'm going to say a prayer for the landscape. You know, and I love this stuff because these are like little neon flicker lights. And they're really neat because in the daytime, you know, they're there and they're on. I leave them on all the time. And then at night, they really take over the presence of the room because they have this red, warm glow. And I like how the work changes just in my own house or in a space over the course of the day. You know, how the light kind of affects the work itself. These called 9 days. I don't know if it's cheating or not. Like, did I just get a gallon of water and fill it up? Do I have to go back for 9 consecutive days? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what I did. 1 week. This piece I like quite a bit called Bones and Water. And I found this perfectly laid out little skeleton. I don't know what it was. It was a small little piece like that, maybe like a rabbit size, but it wasn't a rabbit. And I photographed it, and then I picked it up and started looking. And I started putting the work the photographs in upside down. Right? And I started doing that because when you're out photographing with a view camera, that's how you see the world. You see the world upside down. I thought, well then, the people that are, you know, coming to see this work should see it that way too. Because that, Bob Dahl, is photographic truth too, right? I mean, one of the last pieces I did was called Everything I Do Is Wrong. And I found this, I had shot this 4 or 5 panel piece, and I really liked it. But I lost one of the negatives. And I'm like, oh, great, what am I going to do? So I went back and tried to photograph it again, it didn't work out. I'm like, man, everything I do is wrong. So I'm like, oh, all right, well, make it work like that. Make it about that. Make it about being everything you do is wrong. And so I did. And so I made this piece. This is lead, which is really bad for you, but I didn't know at the time, so I'm sanding it and shit, you know. That's why I can't remember anything. What am I doing here now? But I loved how malleable it is. You can kind of, you know, you can push stuff in there. So there's my name is in there with steel and letters and stuff. So I made that piece, and I made the frame for it. I didn't put it together for a while, so I had it leaning against the wall. So when I finally went to put it together, it had warped. So now it sits kind of crooked on the wall. And I was like, damn it. And I'm like, no, Vaughn, get it? Everything you do is wrong, so that's perfect for this. Right? And then I went to put it in my car. I had a Land Cruiser at the time. And I put it in the car, and I closed the back, and the front went right through the front windshield. And I was like, that's perfect. You know? And it sounds terrible, you know, like how everything you do, but it really totally freaked me up. It totally freaked me up because it's kind of like you come to the Y in the road, well, what are you going to do? Which way are you going to go? Doesn't matter. Whichever way I go is going to be the wrong way, so just go. So all of a sudden, whoo, I'm off and running. It no longer mattered. This was also one of the late pieces I did, and I had an opportunity, I forget who I was talking to, but I had an opportunity to meet Harry Callahan at the Akron Art Museum. And Harry was like, just, his wife Eleanor was there too, and they were, I only met them one time, and they were absolutely wonderful. Like, they were really wonderful, wonderful people. And Harry was showing the pictures of Eleanor with double exposed or triple exposed with the trees and everything, and I asked him about that. And, you know, Harry's typical man, he says, I just wanted to see Eleanor made of trees. And I was like, that is so freaking beautiful. You know, like, that is so beautiful. And so I thought of that in terms of this piece for me, you know, what I wanted to imply here was that what I was photographing was, in fact, a self-portrait. You know, I picked this region because it reminded me of being back home again, and that the landscape was, in fact, the self-portrait of me and who I was. So that was Wolf Lake. The Tar Creek project started in about 2002. And it was right when we were transitioning to digital and stuff. So for me, I mean, it's not important for anybody to see this, but for me it was important. And what Tar Creek was, it's in northeastern Oklahoma. It's the largest Superfund site in the country. It's 40 square miles of toxic pollution. So I'm drawn to it like a fly, like a moth to a flame. You know, it's home to a dozen Native American tribes. This is one of the most polluted streams in the country, Tar Creek. And I got really lucky. I went to the first day, and I had never been to Oklahoma, and I didn't know anything about Native Americans or anything. I didn't know. Do I call you Native American? Do I call you Indian? I didn't know if I was going to see teepees. I know, that sounds terrible. But I didn't know. You know, it's like there are Indian nations here. Well, what does that look like? It looks like every place else. And I get there, and there are these mounds, like in that last picture. And I said, wow, what are those things? It's bizarre. Like, what are these mountains of stuff? You know, like in this flat northeastern Oklahoma. And I pull in, and I go to this tiny little town, Pritchard, Oklahoma, and first thing any photographer does, he stops in a bar, and he has a beer. And so I pull in, and I go into this bar, it's completely dark, and I walk in there, and I sit down, and ask for a beer, and the bartender's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, well, I'm really curious about this place. I heard about it, and I want to explore and take pictures. And they were kind of, I didn't know at the time if they were used to people going there, because it's fairly well known. And she said, look, whatever you do, she said, try not to make our place look ugly. She said, this is our home. She said, in the wintertime, when the snow is on the chat piles, this is one of the most beautiful places on earth. And I was like, boom, there's my thesis, right? That is my argument. Take a place that is poisoning your children, that has holes that open up that are so deep you cannot see the bottom of, and make it look beautiful. You know, make it look like home. And so once I had that, it was like, okay, fine, I can do that. This is a hole. These holes occasionally they'll open up. There are caves underneath the ground, and these things will open up. There are 500,000 tires buried in this little swampy thing. And within 50 feet of it is another body of water that is red as those lockers over there. And I love that sign. For stupidity and corruption to continue, all the people have to do is remain silent. Right? So, this is, like I said, this is 40 square miles. There are 3 towns in there, Pitcher, Cardin, and Treese, and all 3 towns have been relocated. So in the last couple of years, they had to tear down all the towns and relocate everybody because they cannot solve the problem. Right? So this lead, and also it's like effluent from CAFOs, contained animal factories, are all going into the Grand Lake of Cherokee. Millions of gallons of raw, untreated sewage a year. And it's terrible. And if you go there, you won't see any signs or anything, which kind of surprised me at first, but then I was like, well, the people that live here don't want people to know about it, but it's going on. The only time I ever go to church, don't tell my parents, the only time I ever go to church is when I'm down there, because like these are the churches, and they're really cool, and the people are really cool. Yeah, that one's right next to the other one. And that's color of the water, no Photoshop on it. The horse paper, see $35. You know, I mean, the solution was to move the people, right? The challenge is they're Indian nations, right? They're Indian nations with distinct cultures, right? I was at a powwow. You know, I went to a powwow one time, and I was sitting next to one who was in her 70s, and we were sitting there talking. And she said, "Yeah," she said, "I make." I make some of the outfits for the dancers, and I sew moccasins and everything. And she said, I'm also the last Quapaw speaker. And I said, what do you mean? She says, I'm the last person that speaks the Quapaw language. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you idiot. When I die, that language dies with me. And I still can't believe it. And I was talking to my friend Rebecca Jim, who's Cherokee, and she said, she's like, welcome to my world. That happens all the time. A couple months later, she called me up and she says, hey, my buddy Evans Ray, his wife just passed away, and he's a member of a small tribe, and he's the historian for the tribe, and he's worried that he's going to die next. And if he dies, the history of that tribe dies. And what can we do about it? And I was like, I don't know. We should get a video camera on him or something. We should do something. And he died before I did anything. And that history of that tribe is gone. And it's amazing. Right? So when they talk about like just relocating these people, when they have to like say, okay, we're going to buy you out and you're going to move somewhere else, that whole history of that tribe starts to disseminate and disband and go away. And that's what's going on in Tartar Creek, Oklahoma. Somebody lived there, and what's being done, it's called yard remediation. So they go in and they'll remediate the yard. So they take a foot of topsoil off that yard, and they'll put clean topsoil down. And it costs the taxpayer $40,000 to touch it for 2 weeks until it rains or the wind blows. And you can buy a house there for $5,000. So you tell me the logic of that. This was a town I went to. That's the one picture of cat. That's my only cat picture ever. So saving that on Facebook. So this yard was remediated too. So, and here's the chap back here. This is contaminated with lead and arsenic and a bunch of heavy metals. So they come in, they took a foot of topsoil off this yard for this house. It cost us $40,000, and it's effective for 2 weeks. And now that house is gone because they've torn all these things down. Anyway, Tartar Creek. And it's still there. You can go. The town's gone. All this is gone. But the land is still there. The problem is still there, and it's still draining into the Grand Lake of Cherokee. Another project. I'm sorry. There's another project. This is rodeo stuff. When I moved down to East Texas, I'd never been to a rodeo either. Right? And I guess this is the first time I'm actually shooting some people. That's what we do in Texas, right? So I started going to these little small rodeos, and I really love them. Like, they're really cool. Right? Like, I'd never been to one before, and they're really interesting, you know? And most of these guys on rodeos, like, these guys are like, if they're 25 years old, they're old. A lot of the kids that are riding the bulls and doing the horses and stuff, they're like 16, 17, 18 years old. A lot of them are out of school, and they travel around and they do the rodeo circuit. And that's what they do. And you get so beat up. I mean, I've seen so many kids with broken everything, you know? They'll still get on the bull with a broken arm or whatever and stuff. But it's also really beautiful, you know, and I was really interested in that. I was trying to figure out, like, I wasn't trying to figure out, like, what I could be different. I don't really care about, like, oh, I have to be different. But I just want to, like, not be bored when I'm making work. You know, and I was thinking a lot about, like, de Kooning's drawings and paintings and stuff, you know, mostly women and figure stuff. And it's like, okay, if de Kooning were photographing this stuff, what would they look like? You know, so that was sort of my, I had been thinking about that, and I'm just trying to get the blur going on. I'm trying to, like, see how far I can push these things, you know, and still make them sort of recognizable in a way. Now, the rodeo people hate these because they're like, they're real blurry. And I'm like, I know, but that's not my point, you know, it's not the point. I love that speed and action and everything. And I'm telling you, I'm amazed. Yeah, like, it's out of focus, Mark. It's boring, but it's sharp, right? And what amazes me is, like, photography today. The fact that you can even take this picture. You know, back in the old days, Tom's old enough to remember, like an old Nikon F with a manual focus lens. Yeah, good luck doing that. Right? Because these horses come out of the gate, and you don't know where they're going, and you don't know how long this guy's going to stay on it. And you just hit the motor drive, and just like bing, 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 bing. And I'm shooting with a 200mm lens at like a quarter of a second at night. And almost everyone is in focus. It really amazes me. So I don't actually have to do anything except be there. But I love this stuff. It's a lot of fun. Rodeo stuff. And you know, what's cool is like the different East Texas cowboys wear their hats differently. They're called taco style. So they have these really sharp creases in them. Right? And they have particular, you know, and I go, nobody talks to me because I go there, I'm wearing like a t-shirt and shorts and tennis shoes because it's 150 degrees. And I'm like, you know, but all the guys, pressed jeans, belt buckles like the size of this thing, you know, and hats and long sleeve shirts. And they don't sweat. I don't know what, they're just like, yeah, I'm a cowboy, you know. I mean, it's really amazing. But I love that. And I love learning about the culture that way, you know, and like seeing like, it looks better here. Nice. It's a little washed out. So I've been having fun with that. I've been doing that the last couple of years, photographing the rodeos. And I'm going to try this summer, I think, go around and do the circuit with them. And I just want to see how far I can go. You know, I've been shooting with like 80 to 200 and zoom lens, and I've got a 300 now, and I'm really trying to push it a little bit more. I just want to really, get like blurry color going on in there, so that the rodeo people are really like, that dude is crazy. And you really get really nice little things. John Berger talks about unmoving image. Like that little eyeball, for whatever reason, is dead sharp. So that whole horse is just like, you know, like going off that into his eyeball. And it's really pretty cool. Same with that eyeball, too. I don't know how that happens. I wish I could say, yes, I spent a lot of time getting that eyeball in focus. You know, I don't even see what I'm taking a picture of when I'm there. It's just like, just hang on and shoot. Rodeo in the rain. You know, we can talk about metaphor and all that if you want to. I just rodeo pictures. That's nice. Yeah. Oh, did I leave these in? Oh, I left these in. Wow. Yeah, right. So, this is some of the stuff I was talking about, the academic landscapes. I just started photographing like my school, you know, and I'm just like, you know, like my school, like we're like, this is the pinnacle, right? Higher education. This is as good as it gets. Like this is it, right? All these smart people together. And I'm like, wow, really? Like you can't do better than that? Like that's just, like really? Like boy, that really makes you want to like think, doesn't it? You know, like, oh man. And so I started out like with this sort of cynical, like, you know, there's a misspelling in there, which I thought was sort of funny. You know, and just like the power thing, like the whole thing here, like you're listening to me and I'm in charge, you know, you're sitting down and I'm standing, and you know, that's a weird dynamic, you know. So I think about that a lot when I'm teaching, or like, okay, we're going to photograph, we're going to be in a room, a group, or just we're getting the hell out of here, we're going to go to the bar and talk about photography, or you know, something or anything else. But like I said, the more I started photographing it, the more I see that and that is so beautiful. That wall and the way that the light hits and defines this thing, you know. And if you think about like the big picture, like physics and all that stuff, that this thing isn't solid, like doesn't that kind of make you crazy? You know, like I mean that to me, I should just go get my camera. See that right there, those little things? That is so beautiful, and it's like, you know, if I could get that across to people, and that's kind of funny. Sorry, wrong time. Right, make the little sign, and don't fix it. And then there's somebody like in charge of the bulletin boards. Like there's somebody there whose job is like, I'm the bulletin board Nazi, right? And all the pins, when they're not being used, go in the corner here. You know, that kind of stuff is fun. To just kind of learn about a place or see how things operate, you know. The men's room, you don't believe it's so. Oh yeah, there's right there. And I started this thing when I was at Columbia College. When I was at where was I? In University of Missouri, and I started photographing my hallway. And I was still shooting film at the time. And I looked at the contact sheets, and I'm like, wow, I don't recognize this hallway at all. And then it dawned on me, it's like that's the hallway you've been walking down for 6 years, and you didn't recognize it. Like, what's up with that? And the only thing I could figure out was I'm standing here, so this is how I see the world. And when I took the picture, the camera was down here. And it totally changed everything for me. Even though it was a stupid, goofy little hallway. It was weird. That's the girls' bathroom. Don't tell them I was in there. But isn't that it's luscious? That's kind of nice. You know, you get this, it's hard to see in this, but you get this really beautiful, like, there's a color temperature change in terms of the light coming across, and you can actually see the blinds from this window over here going in and hitting that other side. It's really luscious. Like, light is such a beautiful, great thing if you just pay attention to it. You know, like, really, that's the great thing about having a camera around your neck, right? Like, it just gives you that, like, I'm just paying attention to what's going on. And that is so cool, and sometimes you can't stand it, and it's, you know, people think I'll be walking, I'm like, oh my God, look how beautiful that is. Yeah, but see, that's so nice. Right, and like here, you can barely see it, like we're little greasy-headed students leaning against the wall and leave their little greasy history. Yeah, I mean, I got to where I was just going to, like, I know, you're getting nuts. Anyway, welcome to our times. What's this? That's to show you here this show. Shot with that camera. I had 14 of those cameras. And, you know, on a really good day, I can do 28 pictures. I was really interested. There was a couple books that really influenced me. I first got interested in this project when I went down to Texas, and I crossed over the Red River. The Red River is really, I'm okay still. Okay. Texas and the Red River is a really interesting place for me. I got as many books as I could on the Red River itself because it's really an interesting river that's not very navigable, that hasn't been explored very much. In fact, up until 100 years ago, there was a 100-mile log jam on it. Like, until they invented nitroglycerin, they couldn't get rid of the log jam. And once they did, then they could blow the jam up. And this is Mississippi. It's not the Red. But I was thinking of Boston's work. Like, he did these really beautiful cyanotypes. He was with the Corps of Engineers back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. He did these really great photographs of views on the Mississippi. And then the other book that really has a big influence on me, and maybe some of you are familiar with it, is Lee Friedlander's Back Through Valleys. He had a show here in, I think it was 82, actually, at the Akron Art Museum. Totally blew me away. Right, the fact that where I lived was worthy of being photographed, for one, and that the guy's a freaking genius and took these amazing photographs. So I brought this book up with me when I did the commission this summer. To just sort of reference that book, you know, and not so much in terms of composition or anything really, but a sort of a feeling. You know, well, let's talk about it. And so the other thing that really influences me a lot, I studied ceramics for a long time. This is a Chuck Hines piece. And I'm really interested in the material, right? So Hines talks about the material in this piece, right? He's talking about the clay-like aspects of clay, right? And similarly in this piece, this is the guy that built Lincoln, I believe. But what I'm interested in is like all this stuff, right? The beautiful marks and everything that it makes, like the marks that, you know, in terms of these things, like the marks of its own making. I talked about that in that little video that they did of me. That box piece, I forget who did it, but you know, he made this box and he recorded the sounds of him making the box. And in a similar way, I'm interested in doing that with here. I'm interested in like revealing the process. You know, so if I'm going to go in the darkroom, I want to reveal what happens in the darkroom. You know, and so I want to play around as much as I can with the marks and all the different stuff. We should just look out there instead of these, but. And after a while, you kind of learn, you know, with the pinhole camera, you can't see exactly what you're getting, but I know if I stand here, I can roughly estimate how wide it's going to be and how high it's going to be, roughly. My exposures on a sunny day are 4 minutes long. And for me, the composition isn't complete until I go into the darkroom and I manipulate it some. Right, so that image starts to come up. It's just photographic paper. It's the negative, like light-sensitive photographic paper, not the stuff that goes in the printer, but the stuff that goes in the darkroom. And that image will start to come up pretty quickly, and I'll have like about a minute to a minute and a half to sort of manipulate it. And so and what I do is I try to do everything wrong. right? Traditionally in the darkroom, what you're going to learn here with Sherry is you have a tray of developer, and you gently put the print in there. You don't want to get any marks on it. You don't want it to be unevenly exposed or whatever. I'm like, the hell with that, man. I don't use a tray. I use old chemistry. I use, you mix the powder into water at a certain temperature. I don't mix the powder. I just take the powder and throw it on the thing. I use spray bottles. I'll do whatever I can to sort of reveal that process a little bit, to see what happens. And it's kind of neat because you can see different kind of effects taking place. I mean, I love, if you look at the print of this one, it kind of looks like these trees are sort of on fire. You know, and there's this weird thing happening. And I can manipulate that a little bit. I mean, it's sort of like controlled chaos. Sally Mann talks about that a little bit. Like sort of knowing the process, but allowing the process to also reveal itself. And you know, I shoot digital like everybody else does too, but this, you know, digital's like, yeah, got it. Okay, now what? You know? You know, and it sounds silly, but the truth is, like, if you want your work to look different, use different tools, right? If you're going to build a house with a sewing machine, your house is going to look different than the next person's, right? And that might be a good thing. It might be stupid. I don't know. Maybe I'm messing up. I'll tell you this in a minute. I always wanted to enter the Crappy Camera Show. There's a show in New York called the Crappy Camera Show. And it's a big deal. There's like 12,000 people enter it. And every year I never had work to do it. And I'm like, oh, I missed it again. So finally, last year I entered it. And this print, I don't know why, but that won on third place out of 12,000. That's pretty good. Didn't get first though. Swink, Oklahoma. What a great name, Swink. S-W-I-N-K. You can use that if you want for something. I don't care if they get it. Swink. I love that name. That's the Red River. And I still haven't gone down there. So, don't tell the big wells I'm showing you this stuff today. I was afraid they were going to show up today, and then they said, no, we're not going. I'm like, okay, good, I'll put it in. So I was commissioned this summer to photograph the bridges. Fred and Laura Bidwell, I've known them for a long time, and they've seen they saw this work down at Photo Fest 2 years ago. I actually unrolled a big 40 by 100 inch print. And they're like, oh my God, we want one. And I'm like, nah, just wait, they'll get better. Really stupid. Like, don't say that. Like, if they want one, like, sell them one. What they hear, take it. Right? So anyway, so I would, you know, occasionally I put them on Facebook or whatever, and friends like, that one, I want that one. I'm like, nah. So finally, this summer he called me up and he says, look, here's the deal. He says, we're opening up Transformer Station, and we're going to showcase our collection. And the way he said it was great. He's like, look, you know, I don't want it to be like, oh, look, the rich people have all their art. You know, he's like, I want to do something that talks about Cleveland and talks about bridging the east side and the west side, because that's really important, because people tend to not cross the bridges, and there's this cultural divide or whatever. And he said, you know, would you be interested in it, and do you think that process would be right? And I was like, hell yeah. I said, I love those bridges, and I think that process is a perfect fit. And I honestly would not have done it if I thought, yeah, I don't think this is going to work. Because it's weird, but the subject has to be right. And now, just because you're seeing these here doesn't mean you have to go to the transfer station too. If I hear you say, well, I didn't go because I already saw them, and I just going to be in trouble. So anyway, I came up this summer, and I spent some time, and the Goodwells are great. There was like no restriction there, and I'm like, what if I don't get anything? They're like, well, you know, sometimes the muse hits, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm like, yeah, if this muse doesn't hit, I'm jumping off one of these bridges, you know, because this has got to work. So the whole first week, I was getting nothing. Like, they were coming out. Like, I went around first, and I found all my locations, right? So I knew where I wanted to be, and I knew what time of day I wanted to be there. And now I also had, I could only work in sunlight. Like, it had to be a sunny day. If it was cloudy, it was over. You know, and I would go every day, I'd shoot pictures, and I'd get up early, and I'd go out and shoot. So it was like from 7 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night, this process. And each time I'd take 14 cameras. Each camera has one negative. The whole week, I wasn't getting anything. I mean, I was getting stuff, and they were like, oh, these are great. And I'm like, these suck. You know, and I was just like, oh man, what am I going to do? You know, like, and then I'm looking at the weather 7 days out. Okay, so the second week it's going to start getting cloudy. Cloudy, I'm dead. Like, we're talking 2-hour exposures. You can't, it's impossible. And they were like, oh, these are great, we love them. And, you know, and I'm not saying that, but I'm thinking that, and I'm really like drinking. No. That's what I wanted to do. So the Sunday, after the first 7th day, the Sunday, I'm like, okay, I got 3 days of sunshine. These have got to work. Sunday, I'm getting up, I'm doing 28 shots today. I know where I'm going. I'm going to get 28 shots done. I can get the entire thing done today. I get up there, I'm out in the flats, and you know, the flats are kind of, they're cool, you know, they're weird, they're a cool place. You get like yuppies jogging, you get like industrial guys yelling at me to get off their property, which also happened, the cops stop. So you don't know what to expect, which is kind of neat. And I'm taking pictures, I'm like 5 exposures into the day. I'm like, okay, I got a good day, I got a sunny day. This couple pulls up next to me in this old Buick, and they're like in their 70s, they're all dressed up, you know, and they're like, honey, can you tell us where this address is? And I'm like, you know, I'm not really from here, I don't really know. And they're like, oh wait, I have my phone, let me look. So boom, boom, boom. Oh, geez, it's right, it's like right up the hill. Like, and I'm like, and they're like, and I'm like, okay, let's go, we'll drive over. It's going to take me 5 minutes. Let me pull down my camera. And so I grab the camera, the lid falls off, I ruin the picture, the camera breaks. Great, I throw it in the car, okay, fine. You know, we get in the car, they're following me, we go up the hill, oh, dead end detour. And the phone, of course, doesn't recognize. And I'm like, what? So now I gotta find, go all the way around, I turn around, I'm like, it's a detour, we're going. And then these people are thinking I'm gonna kill them, and you know. We get to the place, and it's right across from the stadium. And I pull off, because there's all that construction right there, and I said, well, okay, the red dot's on the blue dot, we're here, like, this is it. And the lady's looking up from the Buick, and she's like, is this Cleveland? And I'm like, yeah. And well, it's not in Cleveland. I'm like, it's in another town? They're like, yeah, it's in another town. And so I put in the address, sure enough. I don't know what town it was, but it's get on the turnpike. Right? And I'm like, no, now what am I going to do? You know, and I'm like, well, do you want to write down the instructions? Or, no, honey, we'll just follow you. And I'm like, it's another town. And I'm like watching the sun, like the clouds are coming in. And I'm like, you know, I'd be like, okay, fine, let's do it. And it's like, yeah, but what's the right thing to do here? Do I screw up my day and possibly lose this opportunity and don't come through for the Bidwells? Where do I take these people? I was raised a Boy Scout, you know, so I took them. We get on the expressway, and they go about 50 miles an hour. Come on! You know, so we drive, and I'm telling you, it's another town. And we get off the exit, and it's still 10 miles. And I'm like, oh my God, what if this isn't right? Now they're really out here. They're lost, I'm lost, and my day is shot. So we get there, and they're going to a funeral. Right? And we get there, and it's this little funeral home, and it's right, and they're so happy that they're at the right place, you know. And he's like, here, take some gas money. I'm like, gas money? Hell, give me your credit cards. No. I'm like, no, you know. And I leave there, and I'm like, okay, now what? You know, I've got like a day and a half, and I don't have anything for today. I am half exposed. Do I just go back and process? I went back to the dark room. We built a dark room in the basement for that week. Every one of those images came out. You know, and part of it was, I think part of it was those people were looking over me. Thank you so much. And part of it was I was playing it safe. I kept playing it safe, and I wasn't doing the things that I knew to do, like to screw up, because I wanted them to come out so badly. I was afraid to like screw up. So I'm like, screw it, man. I got to screw up to make these things work, and that's what I did. And they started working. And I got them like in 3 days, but it took about 300 negatives or so, you know. So that's each time, you know, camera going out. Some of these you're not going to see in that show. There's 7 pieces in the show, Transformer Station. The smallest ones, there's 6 that are 40 by 100 inches, and there's one that's 60 by 150. And they're framed in New York and trucked over. And yesterday, I was over there with Fred, and we pulled one out and opened it up, and it is nice, I have to say. So, it's happening, in fact. So yeah, up to that. And you know, people talk about like what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to. I'm almost done. I know. I got a minute. I'm not trying to make these things look old. You know, and I guess the best way I can describe it, a lot of times my students will, you know, like I'm like, why did you take that picture? And like, I'm trying to capture the moment. And I'm like, yeah, well, you missed it. And I'm not trying to do that. Like I'm trying to capture like a period of time. I'm trying to capture like the ghosts. You know, I'm trying to capture all the people that like built this bridge, and the people that traveled over this bridge, like going to work or going to the ball game with their kid. You know, I remember going to the ball game with my dad. You know, at the old Cleveland Stadium. You know, when you could still go for like $4 and get a hot dog for 50 cents. You know, and that kind of experience, and like the history of what Cleveland is. You know, I mean, I can't, and I'll never be able to explain like how it feels to come home again. You know, how cool it is, and what that means. You know, but you know, and like when I'm there and I'm hanging out with those bridges and stuff. I mean, they almost, you know, I went and visited them yesterday. Like, oh, hey, how are you guys? I miss you. But there's really something, you know, I really feel that, you know, and I really feel like, you know, I want to photograph like every guy that had to go to the mill and work and stuff, and, you know, went over that bridge in their 1940s Studebaker or whatever. Like, that's what I want to capture. And I mean, I never will, but I mean, there's just something so incredibly wonderful and unique and beautiful about this stuff. And I'm so happy to be part of that. That's it. And it's 2 o'clock. Oh yeah. Boom.